Hello everybody, welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. We have a special guest, Brittni Perry with the Iowa Donor Network is here to lead our presentation. Let's all welcome Brittni.
Good afternoon, everyone. Like she said, my name is Brittni Perry. I'm from Iowa Donor Network. A little bit about myself. I've been with Iowa Donor Network for about 7 years now. I started the first 6 years kind of just doing family approaches when donor families come into the hospital. So my role at Iowa Donor Network is Donation Service Coordinator. What I do is I do public educations like this one here. I also do professional outreach, education, help hospitals with policy regarding donation, and also I still do family approaches. On the western side of the state, there is 2 of us, so I still do a little bit of that role as well. I'm really excited to be here today. I think this is a great opportunity to bring awareness to donation, and if you have any questions at any time, feel free to stop me if there's something you don't understand. So like I said, Iowa Donor is a not-for-profit organization. We do have 2 offices. Our main office is located in North Liberty, Iowa. We have another office in Altoona, but in Sioux City we also have 2 offices, one at Unity Point, which I am the hospital coordinator for Unity Point, and then John Jorgensen is over at Mercy One, Sioux City. We have a dedicated tissue recovery suite in Altoona, so anyone that's involved with donation for tissue, we do transport the patients to Altoona to do the tissue recovery, but we do have off-site capabilities as well. Our communication center is open 365, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So we have people on call 24 hours a day doing family approaches because they can happen in the middle of the night. Our call center takes all those initial referral calls. And then our funeral directors also work closely with the other funeral homes throughout the whole state of Iowa. We are regulated by CMS for organ and tissue, and for those tissue-only cases, we are regulated by FDA. We started to be the primary call center for Iowa Alliance Eye Bank in 2019. And that's the last one. So Iowa Donor Network's core values: we serve with heart, we meet our donor families where they are, and we're dedicated to providing compassionate care and service to all. Drive and embrace the future. Be clear, bold, and respectful, and always own it. For 2023, these are the numbers that we impact through lives of organ and tissue donation. We served over 2,469 families. 123 of those were organ donors. And we also did 350 transplants, and we had 1,027 tissue donors in 2023, which is an amazing number. Understanding IDN's role. So when you go into the DMV, or if you go online or register through Logan's Law, what we do as an OPO, as the organ procurement, is that we fill out the donor's wishes. So if you come into the hospital and you're at bedside with your family, we are the ones that are called to check for suitability, see if you're able to be a donor. We go through a screening process just to see if there's anything that we're missing. So we just fulfill and carry out that person's wishes. We guide and support the families throughout the whole donation process. So when they make the end-of-life decision, we're called in. We help them once they make that decision, kind of give them an explanation what donation is. And then we also offer grief support. So Iowa Donor Network has social workers and people, there's committees that we help these donor families even after the fact for donation. We are advocate for the patient and their families is one of the things we do when they choose to do a donation, and then we're also advocating for those ones on the transplant waiting list. So educate and inspire, obviously we like to get out in the community like we are today. We educate and inspire patients to, our people to register as our organ donors. So a few years back, they did do a little research on asking families why do they choose to donate. And the 5 things that you see here are the main things we get. So helping others, living on, they want to take a tragedy and turn it into something positive, or we're doing the right thing. So I was going to read this from one of our donor families here. It says, I can honestly say I'm not sure where I would be today without the idea of him donating his organs. The simple fact of donating has given me hope, and I feel like this is such a positive thing, the outcome of an awful situation. When I'm struggling, I think his heart donor, being able to spend more time with his wife and young kids, being able to share his life, impact, and giving to others has brought comfort and purpose to his death. So there's 2 scenarios for donation. So Iowa Donor Network works primarily only with deceased donation, which means you're going to be a donor of your organ, eyes, or tissue. So that's kind of the role that Iowa Donor is on that side of things, and for research. For living donation, we are 2 different organizations. If you do living donation, you do have to reach out to a transplant center. And it may or may not be family members. They'll go through a series of testing, screening, things like that to see if you're compatible with the living donor. But a single kidney, a segment of the liver, a lobe of the lung are also all things that can be donated for living donors. When we talk about organ donation, we are talking about the solid internal organs. So lungs usually can be split into 2. It's not very common, but it can. Pancreas, our kidneys usually always go to 2 different recipients. Sometimes it can go to 1, depending on this case-by-case situation. Heart, liver can also be split into 2. So pediatric patients, if they need a part of the liver and they're a match, they can dissect that as well. And also intestine. So if you look at the number here, every 1,000 potential donors can be, out of 1,000, only 3 can be donors. And with that being said, when your loved one comes into the hospital and they have a very poor prognosis of surviving, there's a lot of things that go into play with brain death and everything. So if you think about it, 3 of 1,000 is a very small number. So organ donation is very rare. So if you have an opportunity to be an organ donor, I think that's pretty amazing. So on the organ transplant waiting list in 2024, we had 103 women, men, and children on that transplant list. In 2023, more than 23,000 donors were able to offer new life to recipients and their families. And then just here in Iowa alone, it's 600 plus waiting on that waiting list. So today, 7 people will die waiting on the transplant waiting list. During our talk, 9 people will be added to this list. So these are just kind of the numbers of the transplants that we have each year. We had 46,000 last year per organ. Eye was 122,000, and tissue is 2.5 million. And as you can see, the big difference between organ and tissue, there's not a real shortage on tissue donation. We have a lot of tissue donors, but organ is just one of those rare opportunities, and that's why the numbers are so different. So we do an average of 128 organ transplants every day. We have record-breaking numbers. So in 2023, more than 10,000 Black transplant recipients are non-Hispanic. Exceeded over 46,000 life-saving transplant total. So this includes living and deceased donors, and more than 10,000 liver transplants. So I think the more that we get out in the community, the more we educate, the more you're more aware about donation. These numbers are going to continue to rise, and our main goal is to decrease that waiting list. Organ donors in Iowa in 2023, 123 gave the gift of life through organ donation. From those 123 people, 350 organs were transplanted. And like I said in the beginning, because the kidney normally always goes to 2 recipients. So that's how that number can change. IDN is one of the top performing OPOs for the nation's recovery in tissue. Our tissue donors are very, very special to us. They help enhance lives of many other people. For example, we have your corneas. Your corneas can help recite vision if you have vision loss. Your bones, a lot of those sports injuries in bones, we use bones to kind of help regenerate that bone. Tendons a lot are used for your ACL tears and sports injuries. Our heart valves are usually used a lot in those babies that are born with congenital heart defects. So a lot of times we'll use those valves. They are like, I don't know, like they're not like real valves, but if they don't get like a human transport valve, they'll have to keep doing it because those valves don't grow with the baby on like the human valve will. Skin is life-saving for a cleft palate or for wound treatment, and a lot of women that have breast cancer and have breast surgery, they can have the skin to help reconstruct that. Veins are used a lot for grafts to restore circulation to heart and your lower extremities as well. And then on your left side here to the screen, we have the aortic iliac for trauma patients with vascular surgery bypass and AAAs. For T-bro bodies, they're helping, one day they can use this to help with immunotherapies so your body doesn't reject an organ transplant. Adipose tissue stem cells can be added from the bone from the same donor, used for fractures, and places for the bones that it won't grow. And also cartilage we use to help reconstruct people that have had trauma to their face. These are just some examples of the tissue grafts for your ACL repair. Your cancellous cubes or chips can be used for regeneration. Your pulmonary valve, a little bit different there. They have to match in size for that recipient. And then your skin grafts for burn and wounds, which these can be packaged and stored up to 5 years. And then your femoral veins. So that's just a visual of how those bones do. In 2023, we had 1,027 Iowans that enhanced lives through the gift of tissue donation. So one donor can impact 50 to 300 lives from just that one donor. And these numbers have increased over the years. In 2017, we're at 798. A Deed a Body program is actually a program where you can donate your body to science. The reason why I like to talk about this slide, because a lot of people can be registered to do both. So you can be on the Iowa Donor Registry and you can be on this as well. The Deed a Body program does recognize this as a noble choice, and they're unable to accept the body if there's missing organs with the exception of corneas. So it's very important, talk to your family what you kind of think is more important and what you really want, because there could be a thing where you're not eligible to donate, but you can donate your body to science if your organs are not viable. On-site donor families, like I said before as well, we're on-site with these families from the moment they consent until donation is done. So we do offer a lot of memory-making items for this family. I've done many in the past. So as you can see in that right-hand picture, that's the hand embossing that we offer families. So what that basically is, it's wax, and we put it on the paper and we kind of seal it with a powder, just so that they can have memories of their loved ones. We also do like thumbprints. We've done hair locks before. A recent case I had in Sioux City, we did go and get hand molding, and they were able to do hand molding with their dad. And then we do heartbeat recording so they can save their heartbeat. And we also save that in our database, so if the family were to ever lose that, we still have access to it, so we'll never lose it. Pediatric resources are really nice also because one of the recent cases that I had back in October of 23, it was a gentleman that had 4 younger children, 1 in high school, 2 in elementary school. So we give the kids like care packages, coloring books, and then we offer grief books for kids that understand death a little bit. And they're age-based, so it's kind of nice to help keep them occupied while they're at the hospital. And then throughout the state of Iowa, we have several people that make quilts and donate them to our donor families. So once that family has made a decision to be a donor, we always offer them a quilt. So if you ever see those, it's kind of a neat thing to have. So donor in spirit is something where we have a potential donor at the hospital and for whatever reason they're unable to donate. We still like to honor those potential donors even though they were unable to. So we still offer our memory items, our grief support, and everything that goes along with just as if they were a donor. Our ongoing support, we're always doing fundraisers, we're always in the community doing tabling events and things like that. One of the neat ones is the donor and recipient correspondent. It's when the donor family and the recipients get together and they kind of meet after so long. Both parties do have to agree to meet at that time. So that's a picture of the family that met there. Every year we do the Green 5K. It's kind of just a fundraiser. It's one of our biggest fundraisers that we have at Iowa Donor Network. And then we have like candlelight tributes throughout the year. And then we also have a donor garden family, or garden memorial. One of our upcoming support donor families is a grief camp. So this is to get families together that are not really taking grief very well and help them with strategies to overcome that and like get them together, like share common stories and just a little bit more support there that we're doing. So that is something new. So when a person makes a donor designation, it is a legal binding contract. A lot of times we'll come across families, we'll get to the hospital and they don't understand that. So when you go to register, if you're 18 and older, you go online and you register to be a donor, you do it on your driver's license or your fishing hunting license. It is a legal binding contract, which means if you're suitable for donation, then more than likely we'd like to honor your support. So your decision to be a donor, we normally follow through with that. Your legal next of kin, so if you're 18 and under 18, or you're not registered, we still give the families the opportunity for donation if it presents itself, but you have the right to say no, but we do file a hierarchy of list of your legal next of kin that can make those decisions. So if it's a wife on a ventilator and she has a husband, we would approach him for donation, if that makes sense. Legal and ethically, it is our responsibility as your organ procurement organization to carry out the donor's wish. So if you're a donor, we like to honor that donor. How do I register? So 90% of our registry comes from the DMV when you go in for your license. Logan's Law started in 2019. It was a 13-year-old that was involved in an ATV accident. His mother went to legislation to kind of get this approved, but her son loved to fish and hunt and things like that. Just by doing this law, the registry increased by 6,000 people when we started that one. So it's just kind of her way to give back and show people and bring awareness to donation. And also we have brochures that you can mail in to be a registered donor as well. And the sheets that are on your table on the back side of it, that is another way you can register. Volunteer opportunities. Iowa Donor Network has a volunteer program. It's very important to our communities to get these people involved with organ and tissue and eye donation. They make a meaningful contribute to IDN. Speaking and engagements and tabling events, like I said before, and if we have Donate Life Month is one of our big months where we have our volunteers come in and help us with things. If you're ever interested in being a volunteer for Iowa Donor Network, you can go to iowadonornetwork.org. Or Ann Casey is kind of ahead of everything, and her name is acasey@iadn.org. And I can write that down later. Any questions?
Is there an age limit on donations?
There's no age limit. So we actually were talking about this earlier. So your liver, a healthy liver, they did research, your liver can live up to 130 years. So a lot of times our older patients are liver donors, and I think our oldest tissue donor was 107. So never rule yourself out. We have medical specialists that go through everything to see if you're suitable or not. Good question. Yes.
So if you know, let's say, that you have like a genetic heart defect, could you still be considered like for kidney failure or something?
Yes. So she's asking if she had like a congenital heart defect, can she still donate other organs, correct?
Right, I have a genetic heart defect, so nobody would ever want my heart.
So for heart, then that might be a rule out, but it is case by case basis. So that does not rule out any other organ. We look at every organ by itself. Yes.
I know if you've had hepatitis, you can't donate blood. Does that interfere with organ or tissue donation?
Usually, she's saying if you have hepatitis, is that a rule out for organ tissue? So that is case by case as well. Usually with tissue, you're a rule out for hepatitis, but with organ, hepatitis B to hepatitis B, you can transplant to the same. Or sometimes they'll, if it's hep C, depending on the transplant center, they'll treat it. They'll take if it's a patient's not doing so well, they'll take it and treat with hep C. So, yes.
I was just curious about the scenario if you said, like, a wife is on a ventilator and she's a donor on a card, but the husband says, no, she told me she didn't want to do that anymore. She never got around to changing it or something. Is it ever rescinded or voided because of what the surviving spouse says?
So legally, so she's asking if like there is someone at the hospital and they're unable to change their decision, but they know they didn't want to be a donor. Unfortunately, it has to be documented somewhere. And then we just follow what's the most up-to-date information. Sometimes, depends on the hospital, it's case by case. Sometimes if it's too much, we'll walk away from it. So it just kind of depends. Yes.
How long after a person is deceased do you have to harvest organs?
So he's asking how long after someone is deceased, how long you have to do a tissue procurement. So basically we have up to 24 hours. So we try to get like the last known time alive if possible, and then we go from that. Because in the 24 hours is really like a crunch time. We work really closely with medical examiners, so they have jurisdiction over any death, inpatient or hospital. If they, or out of hospital, if they agree to do donation, we go through them every single time. They're seeing that. But we have our recovery suites are in Altoona. So if you think about it, by the time someone passes away, we start the cooling process. We contact funeral directors. We contact the ME. We have to drive them to Altoona, Iowa. That takes a big chunk of that time. So 24 hours is something we just have to work with, and unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't happen all the time. Good question. Yes.
So you're talking about tissue?
Yes, tissue
right?
donation.
So, you know, I don't know how it works now, but like 49 years ago when I was already working, we had someone at a facility in Southwest Minnesota, and then a donor team came and harvested the organs. Is that still the way that works?
Can you repeat the last part of that?
Like they were harvesting the heart, kidneys, and that sort of thing, and a team actually came to our hospital
Yes.
and harvested the organs. Is that still the way that would work?
Yes, so basically when you're an organ donor, that wherever that patient is, we will do the organ in their OR. tissue recovery, they go to Altoona, but we do have off-site capabilities. But yeah, we send a whole team in and we do the procurement at the hospital.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yep.
Because I was involved in one of those many, many years ago.
Sure.
But I didn't know if that was still the way that it worked.
Yes.
Does the team that procures the organ, the same team that puts it into the recipient?
No. So our transplant surgeons, the ones that come in, so they fly in wherever they're from. And because it's time sensitive from the time we do procurement till the time we transplant. So when they come and they do the recovery, sometimes our surgeon will do like kidney, but usually they do and they fly back in their recipient. So. And just so you know, the difference between deceased donation and living donation with organ and tissue, just to be a little bit more clear, organ donation, you have to be on a mechanical ventilator. If we find you off-site and you passed away, you're not perfusing to those organs anymore, and we cannot transplant that into a recipient. So tissue is different because there's no, it doesn't have to do with blood or perfusion. We can just do that up to 24 hours after they have passed away. Good questions. Any other questions? All right.
All right, let's give Brittni a round of applause. Having mic problems. Hello. Okay. Thank you guys for coming, and we hope to see you. We're going to take a break from Lunch and Learns for a little bit. I do apologize. Wow. I do apologize, but our next Lunch and Learn will be September 20th, and Tasha Jennings will be discussing mental health. Okay. Thank you guys all for coming today. Thank you, Brittni. Thank you. Have a good day, guys.